And now we're going to toss over to Coventry.
Hello and welcome to Global News Relay. This segment is coming to you from Coventry University in the United Kingdom. I'm Sam Ingrams.
And I'm Jyotika Dhir. This year's topic is homelessness and shelter. The number of homeless people in Coventry is increasing, but the figures are not precise. While 140 people live roughly on the streets in the West Midlands, charities in Coventry said that there are not enough beds for those without a place to sleep. However, Ministry of Housing Statistics claim that only 13 people are living roughly on the streets in the city in 2017, although these figures are highly disputed by homelessness campaigners.
Some support workers claim that the rise in the gig economy and the introduction of the Universal Credit Social Benefits Scheme has had a direct effect on the levels of homelessness.
People at risk of being homeless don't have to wait until they lose their house. With the introduction of the Homelessness Reduction Act, more attempts will be made to uncover so-called hidden homelessness, which can include cases such as couchsurfing or B&B accommodation.
More than 250 people are involved in running.
Organised by Hope Organisation every Friday at St. Oswald Church in Coventry.
I'm on the shelter because I couldn't find a job in my profession, mechanic of ship engines.
John is another homeless man that I met at the winter night shelter. He agreed to share his story, but using another name and identity. He told me that he was a soldier in the British Army for 17 years. He fought in Kuwait, Kosovo, Afghanistan and Iraq, where he was severely injured and sent back home. After his wife died, he lost his house and now is living roughly on Coventry streets.
I made specific rules when I became homelessness, like never pay for anything, never beg, which I haven't done, and
how can you survive?
oh great, work it out. It's not just this. There are lots of Christian and government places where you can get food.
Only 2 shelters are based in Coventry. One is run by Hope Organisation and another one by Salvation Army. Sean Griffiths is a support worker for 20 years working now for Salvation Army. He blames the universal credit and the bedroom tax for the increased number of homeless people.
So much more people that are homeless now than ever before. You only have to walk through the city centre and you'll see lots of people sitting around in their sleeping bags. Partly universal credit, partly bedroom tax. People just cannot afford to live, you know. And also people want to downsize their properties and they're not being able to do so. So they can't afford to live, they can't pay their arrears, so therefore they get evicted. I mean, we have pensioners in here.
According to the Coventry City Council, there are almost 140 people without homes in the city, 3 times higher than 7 years ago, but no more than 50 beds available in shelters. However, homeless doesn't always mean hopeless people.
I spent 12 weeks in Stratford, well 10 to 12 weeks in Stratford, sleeping in a graveyard. Best holiday I've ever had.
She lived for 3 months without being asked for the rent and now is thanking her beneficiary. Stay with us to watch the story.
The number of homelessness prevention and relief measures undertaken in Coventry have fallen dramatically since 2015. Only 922 actions were taken from the period of 2016 to 2017, a drop of almost 35% from the previous year. Concurrently, the number of dwellings empty for 6 months or more has risen by 18% in Coventry. To pose a utopian question with crumpled corners, shouldn't empty homes have people in them? I went to speak to Coventry Labour Party member and founder of Coventry Winter Night Shelter, Nobby Clark, to find out more. I'm here with Nobby Clark, who is a local Labour member. Would you like to explain a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, I'm a former fire officer. At one point I was responsible for community fire safety in the city, and that generally got me involved in this area, this client group, and I subsequently set up the Coventry Winter Night Shelter for homeless people, and that's how I became involved. in local politics particularly.
I've brought you here today to talk about the topic of empty houses and homelessness in Coventry. Now, in 2017, there were around 1,364 long-term vacant dwellings in Coventry, long-term being 6 months or more. Where do empty houses come from?
A number of reasons, I guess. I mean, a neighbour of mine, their house is empty at the moment. It's an old guy, a war veteran, who's now gone into a residential premise to be assessed and is probably never going to come home, but he still has capacity. He would not want to sell his home. He wouldn't want anybody else living there. And until issues get sorted out with that premise, it could be empty for 6 months, 12 months, who knows? That's one example. Relationship breakdowns where people fall out and they're having to make decisions over the property. It's very difficult. There are always going to be a number of properties empty. And the principle of British law is that if you want to buy a property and keep it empty, if you want to go abroad and keep the house available to you for when you come home, that's your right to do that. So you're always going to have a number of properties that remain empty for a period of time.
Why might there have been an increase in them since 2015?
I can give an opinion, but I don't have an insight into this area. One of the things that has happened to the local authority over the last few years is their actual capacity to deal with issues has gone down because their funding has gone down. I think Coventry's funding from government is about 50% of what it was 7 or 8 years ago. So there's a great deal of work to be done, but you've got fewer people to deal with it. So it becomes it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, really, that that you're going to see a slow increase in issues if you haven't got enough people to deal with it. The availability of housing must get better, and that really needs national
attention.
Direction to that. In terms of what we can do as a public, well, as much as possible, then offer up solutions. I also represent a charity which is seeking people to invest in property in order to lease that property back to the charity to find, to home people who are homeless. That is a solution by a small group of people, but more of the same, really.
Jeremy Corbyn, do you think he's got a good policy on homelessness?
Well, the telltale for my view on Jeremy Corbyn is that I joined the Labour Party the day he was elected as leader. Austerity is politically motivated, not economically necessary, and all it does is drive us down in a spiral of decline. The antidote to that is having somebody in power who principally is going to turn that around and say, well, if in 1948 we were able to do a lot in a time of austerity, then we do need and should and are able to do something about it right now.
Significant changes have been reported after the Homelessness Reduction Act came into action on 3rd of April. Local authorities now have a duty to help all eligible applicants. At the same time, people at risk of being homeless don't have to wait until they lose their house. With the introduction of the Homelessness Reduction Act, more attempts will be made to uncover so-called hidden homelessness, which can include cases such as couchsurfing or B&B accommodation.
More than 250 people are involved in running the Coventry Winter Night Shelter. Set up 5 years ago, the shelter provides cover for rough sleepers during the ice-cold winter weather. Carmen Scutari reports.
These are the jacket potatoes, 32. Big pot of chilli there as well.
This is how volunteers from St. Oswald Church were waiting for homeless people to come. The winter night shelter, organized by Hope organization, is sometimes their single chance to sleep in a warm place and to have a proper dinner.
Dwayne is the hero, though.
Meet Dwayne Harwood. He has been coming here every Friday for a year and a half to organize the venue for homeless people and sometimes even cooking for them. He lost his job, so helping those in need is his only occupation.
Chili flakes. I just see there's a job that needs to be done. I mean, you've seen the weather outside tonight. There's inches of snow on the ground. There's going to be several inches more within a couple of hours. And I've got volunteers struggling through the snow to be here because they see that something has to be done. These people need help.
At least 10 volunteers join the shelter once a week to prepare the beds and to arrange the dinner for those who don't have a place to live. Polly Williams is one of the oldest volunteers at St. Oswald Church in Tile Hill neighborhood. She said that one of the rules is not to ask people about their situation, but to listen and encourage them.
Some of them I've known for the last few years, and it's always lovely to see them, but always sad as well, because you think, oh, I wish they'd moved on, but they haven't.
We rely heavily on volunteers, and in order to run it efficiently, we need every evening minimum 4 volunteers for the evening shift, 3 volunteers for the night shift, and 3 volunteers for the morning shift.
Every weekend?
Every day of the week.
Bernardo Canvas has been the project coordinator for a year. The humanitarian mission was initiated 5 years ago. Christian churches are opening their doors from December until March to welcome people who are looking for a warm place to sleep.
We have set up a system of 7 churches. Actually, it is 6. One of them is doubling up. And every night we will rotate. It's the same venue every week. For instance, on a Monday they will go to St. Columba's Church, and on a Thursday evening they will go to the Salvation Army Church.
Back to St. Oswald Church, Polly, Dwayne and other 8 volunteers are still waiting for their guests and friends.
Not sure whether I would call it home. They're in a different shelter every night, but I think that a lot of us volunteers are regulars, and so perhaps they do feel a little at home when they see our faces.
Actually, I noticed it smells like when I was a kid, when my mum used to put jacket potatoes in the oven.
For Global News Relay, Carmen Scutario from Coventry University.
Many homeless people avoid sharing their situation due to the fear of prejudice. They might turn to couchsurfing with their friends or temporary B&B accommodation. Bianca's story was like this until she got a happy ending. She found someone with great heart willing to let her use the house without rent in exchange for maintaining the house. I met Bianca, and here's what I found out.
So last year, after finishing first year of uni, I got myself in a bad situation. I just changed jobs and I didn't have any money and I ran out of savings, and it was quite hard for me to save up, and I lived like on couches in different places with my friends, and I was basically homeless and I didn't have any money. One night I met this woman in my job, and she was quite drunk, and I was telling her this story about me not having anywhere to sleep, and she turned out to be living in the same area as I was, and she was just traveling abroad, and she offered me to stay at her place for free just to take care of her house, which kind of saved me. She made me feel like I'm home. I'm still thankful for her, for everything she did to me. I mean, you barely find people like this just so on the street, and it happened to me so randomly as well.
Dear Mary, I hope you're having a good time in Ireland. I'm in my 3rd year now, and I'm writing this email to thank you once again for what you did for me. Without your help, I would have been homeless. Your help made me pull my life together and save me from lots of troubles.
Thanks for joining us here at Coventry University for the Global News Relay. Unfortunately, our time has come to an end, and we are now passing you on to Marquette University in exotic Milwaukee, Wisconsin, over in the United States. We hope you enjoy the rest of the broadcast. Goodbye.
And now we're joined by Mate Vilagi from Coventry University. It's nice to see you.
Hello.
Hello, it's nice to see you too. Hi.
It sounds like home ownership is something only a few wealthy people can do. Just how difficult is it to buy or rent a house in Coventry?
In Coventry especially, because it's full of students. For us it's easier, but for locals, the locals have been always pushed out of the city center by the university, and there's a bit of a clash between the locals and the students on this topic. So it's easier for us.
So can we talk about the Homeless Reduction Act that goes on in Coventry? How does that help reduce the issue of homelessness?
The problem with this, we don't know how it reduces it, because we don't know how many homeless people are there on the streets. The ministry was surprised that in the past year it dropped. The number of homeless people rose by 50%, but they only count the people who are lying down on the street, which doesn't really mean that homeless people are always lying on the street. And if you take a walk in the city center, you can see way more than 14 homeless people. So we not yet know what the outcome is going to be. We are hopeful.
After you guys did this story, were you shocked to see how many people were homeless?
I was shocked when I got here to Coventry. I didn't even imagine the number of homeless people I'm going to encounter here. I thought it was going to be way less than I'm used to, and I wasn't after the interviews or the program. I was shocked when I got here.
You say when you got here, where did you come from?
Well, I come from Hungary, from Budapest.
Okay, so what is it like there in comparison to Coventry?
Well, Budapest is the capital city, so obviously there are way more homeless people there. I live near an area where they had a bigger homeless shelter, and I can say I'm used to these scenes. It's always sad to see, but after a time you just get used to this. And but we also have the benches you can't sleep on properly, and homeless people can't sleep in the near metro stations underground in the winter. So it's never pretty, I think.
Right. Do you feel like now that you've covered the stories of all the homelessness that's going on, you want to maybe help the shelters out and volunteer later on and help out?
Yes, of course. I think most people, when they see a report like this, they feel a need to help out. But and a lot of the people who I work with on this project, they also help homeless people in one way or another, handing them cash. Or when I go to Tesco, there's always someone sitting next to the door of Tesco, and I usually ask them if they want anything, a Coke or a sandwich or something, and I get it for them. Sometimes university schedule makes it hard to volunteer, but these are the small things that we can all do if we have the means, that we can help in these situations.
Right,
exactly.
and I think that's something we can all relate to.
All right, well, thank you so much for talking with us. We've been talking
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. We've been talking with Mate Vilagi from Coventry University.
Thank you for all your contributions to the Global News Relay.
You're watching the Global News Relay, a collaborative global newscast created by university students around the world.
The GNR is streamed live on CMAC.tv, our Fresno State Focus and Global News Relay YouTube channels, and on our website, globalnewsrelay.com. We're also live tweeting and posting on Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat. You can find links to all of our social media platforms on our GNR website and Global News Relay Facebook page. These stories keep getting more and more incredible as the time goes on.
Yeah, it makes me want to be a bigger part of my community and help out as well.
Definitely, I couldn't agree more. Coming up next on Global News Relay Shelter, we take you to Texas State and Alabama.
Still to come on Global News Relay. Protest in Texas over immigration laws.